All right, we're here. I got these two brilliant minds with me. Logan Henderson from Living Library Productions channel and Harry from Devil's Playground 2. And it's Gnostic 68. I'm going to screw up the channel. Say it, Harry.
Gnostic Artist 68.
Gnostic Artist 68. And we're just going to have a free-for-all here. We tried to do a presentation. Who knows what's going to happen? I think it's just going to be a discussion. I'm really looking forward to what these two have to say. I'm starting out with my presentation. Warning, every time I get on to do a video, I get the freaking migraine, and then I'm on the pill that makes me tired, and then the room's going. So if I screw up, just turn a blind eye, please. All right, so we're going to start with a presentation here. I got to get myself set up. So anything you two want to say to introduce yourselves while I'm messing around here? Or anything you
Just
want to...
we've been I took a hiatus for almost a year before we used to do the Devil's Playground 2 with Nigel. After he passed, I lost control of that channel because it was his. I did start up a new one, the Gnostic Artist 68, but I think I took about a little over a year off. But now I'm starting to do maybe like one video every week or so, trying to regrow this new channel.
Yeah, I haven't done anything probably for, I don't know, 2 years. I mean, I took a lot of time off and just really started focusing on my family and stuff that we got going on here. And I'm wanting to start back up again with videos and getting back into the stuff that's happening in the exoteric world. I needed a little time off too, because I was getting so wrapped up in all of it that it was affecting me in a way I didn't. So Tracy, my wife, had to remind me, like, listen, you're getting a little bit too, you're getting too involved with things that are going on outside. And that was a really strong reminder to me that, the most important thing is really that esoteric world. It's us. If we really need to work on ourselves before we really can actually, be beneficial to the people around us. So that's pretty much what I've been doing is doing self-work and self-reflection and more meditating, and especially amidst, because I'm a super busy person with 3 kids. So focusing on that stuff has been important, but I'm ready to jump back out there and start exploring again. So I'm really excited to be sitting here with you guys. You guys are 2 amazing people, and I'm really honored to be here hanging out with you guys.
Why am I feeling triggered here? I needed a break, and I haven't taken one, really. So it shows, right?
Can't tell one bit.
But we were supposed to be laying low for a while, and I suddenly felt like, okay, I'm supposed to get on YouTube for a little bit, bring you on. I don't know why the 3 of us were supposed to get on here, but I'm on Odyssey, so that's where I'm planning on staying because it's the least censored or whatever. So we do have to kind of watch what we say on this video, I think. I don't know, because
I
they were
agree.
striking the heck out of me. So
I
I'm
agree.
gonna try to figure out what I'm doing here. So Zoom recording. All right, so Matrix world, so-called sacred geometry. I don't know why. I put a nice round earth here for you guys. In case
The
anybody's a
ball.
flat earther, just to piss people off. But anyway, actually it was just whatever was suggested. I'm not a designer. So sacred geometry, why do people get so wrapped up in it? I don't know, unless it's to figure out what this place is, but they I don't know why it's sacred. It's just ones and zeros. So so to start off with, is this going to work for me? We'll do a Nigel intro for those that watch Devil's Playground 2. Hi guys. I don't know why I put these funny things up here. See if I can move this. Not moving. Why this stuff makes me laugh. It usually starts with something funny. Life getting stressful, I had to let go. Why is this making me laugh? I don't know. It's probably not making anybody else laugh. We knew summer was coming. We just kept eating. These have nothing to do with my presentation. So
This is a good tribute for sure. I like this.
Okay, so,
Yeah, people who remember the channel know exactly what you're doing, so don't worry
Yeah.
about that.
That's awesome.
whoops, oh God, I'm screwing up already. See, we're going too far. All right, so let's stop the share. So I'm going to
Yeah.
open a whiteboard, just do a little brief thing on this dot world. I did a video on dot world, and so this is just be expanding a little bit. Okay, I don't know what it's doing. It's not opening. Of course it's not. Hang on, one more click here. Let's see if it'll work. There we go. All right, can you see the whiteboard?
It's loading.
It's loading right now.
Interesting. Okay, because I see it. You don't see it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
we can see your scroller. It says Anne-Marie on it.
Okay, you see the whiteboard though? I'm gonna start drawing, then you'll know. So, did I hit the record back? Who knows? Dudes, this is bad. I don't even know if I hit the record back. Yeah, I did. Okay. Oh, that's gonna be
It says,
rough.
yeah, it shows
So,
recording.
it says recording. Okay, and you can see the whiteboard. So, the sacred geometry I had talked about, I'm going to draw with my finger. So this is supposed to be a dot here. So I felt like everything was a dot, and then they put a mirror here and mirror the dot. So now we have two dots. And if this is a hypnosis program, then they tell your consciousness, okay, you're seeing a line there connecting those. So now we have a line. And then they use the mirror again. So if you like, if you stand in front of a mirror and you hold up a mirror, you can see yourself as the dot, the mirror reflection is the second dot, and then you'll see yourself in the mirror. So I feel like there's something with threes. So then you have the third dot, and now you have this line connecting these, and you have a triangle. And you could always put another dot in where you make a square, right? Because two triangles make a square, that's a crooked square. But anyway, I'm wondering if a lot of this is made up of triangles, because there's that law of three, that when they do spells, everything's in threes, blah, blah, blah. So we have this world that's just made up of mirrors. So now you have a plane. So these planes that line up as virtuals, and they're just flat planes. And I traveled through these in my video where I was seeing what would happen if I just was clueless and I died. And I realized this was part of the tunnel of light, going through all the virtual screens. So we're looking at a screen right now. It's 2-dimensional, but I look 3-dimensional. Look at this room behind me and everything. So this world's very simplistic, the point. So I'm going to go take this a little further. That was a kind of a, I don't know if those are going to erase me going over
When you
the
mentioned the
dot video.
three, when you mentioned the three, you need 3 points to make your first shape, right? In nature. And we also know that in the legal system, you want something done, you got to say it 3 times. So definitely there is something mystical or sacred
Interesting.
about
And
the three.
their law is the same one they're giving us here, right? So,
Yeah, yeah.
and we got 3 of us. I've noticed when I've gone in to do removal sessions, stuff like that, I've had, when there's been 3 of us, it's much more powerful. So, so going back to the triangle, the kosh or cock or cook, or there's, I think it's koch or something in German, Koch. This guy came up with the snowflake theory. And if you take a triangle, which is again those 3 points, and you divide each edge into 3, so you're just making 2 more dots that are mirrored. Then you can make another triangle here, divide this one with 2 dots. Now you have a triangle, 2 dots, you have a triangle. So now we have Star of David, and you can keep going with this. So your perimeter is now 1, 2, 3, 4. Each edge is 4. So it's 4/3. So you're always going to have a third left over. And this can keep on going. So you divide this one into 2, and you can put one there, one here, one here. here. Anyway, it makes this snowflake and so on. And then even these, you can keep putting them here and it keeps going. You can imagine what that looks like. But what happens then is if this you can keep dividing this, then your perimeter is going to be infinity. And so of course, when we have infinity, that symbol there, it's not forever, or infinity is not forever. It's just a loop repeating backwards, forwards, backwards, forwards, backwards, forwards. You're just stuck in a loop. It's not really true infinity. And you can also look at that figure 8 like this. And I talked about that in a video. I think Irish Eyes was saying that she was drawing that symbol as a child, and so was I. I kept drawing it. This is the same thing. It's just opening it up, but it's still a loop. Or you could look at it as like the atom thing. I've seen this around people's light bodies. It's just all these loops they have us in. So, so this is part of their infinity with this snowflake, but the original shape itself, this original triangle where we had the real dot, first dot, doesn't ever change. It's finite. It's the adding on to infinity. So this is a fractal. You can zoom in forever to infinity and keep adding triangles. And then this creates a hexagon, right? So, so it makes this place look very complex, but I think this is the power of the 3, the triangles, maybe the secret to this place. So this can keep us here going down rabbit hole after rabbit hole to nowhere, such as science, mathematics, history. You can just keep going like, oh my God, look at this. Look at all these mysteries of this sacred geometry. Maybe it's why I was bored in school and my mind doesn't want to take on these immersing formulas of math, science. I mean, it's like, what's the point of this? Okay. And it needs a point. Excuse the pun again. I have another slide, excuse the pun. So it's just a dot with a mirror, basically. And each side getting bigger to infinity, but it's really getting smaller. So, you know, is this the inversion? It's an inversion world. So we're going in to the molecular to the molecular atomic level. You just keep going in and in and in and in with these fractals. So they can set this mirror effect up and it just keeps going and going and going. But you'll never go beyond that original bump of the original triangle. So let's see, I got some notes here. So then you're going to look at this as a mathematician or something. Oh, let's look at the area of the snowflake and find the finite value and the blah, blah, blah. As you start looking at the area inside each small triangle, now it becomes S square root of S times the edge squared over 4, like all this crazy stuff. And it's like, what good does this do us? This mathematical rabbit hole doesn't help us in terms of what this place is. But you can keep mapping this out further and further and further and all kinds of aspects. And this is how people go down all these rabbit holes, or they go down these metaphysical empty rabbit holes like sacred geometry or all these other paths that are leading us really nowhere. So, but I think there's some kind of key to this snowflake thing. Let's see. So let's see if I can get back to the slides. Okay, Harry, what were you saying?
So when you were on the whiteboard and you were showing how fractal was, growing, you could totally see the 3-dimensionality of how, as you added to the sides of the triangle, you were going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into that mirror that you were talking about. I think that if you look at how this matrix was originally designed, maybe from the benevolent side, that you could go into that fractal and ask those questions and look to figure out the equations that you were using to kind of understand it more from benevolent side. But now we're in that malevolent side. So the use of going into it and trying to figure things out, it's just putting you in that cycle of repeating where you get nowhere. Whereas in
Yeah.
the past, it was probably you got somewhere from that.
Mhm.
Now you're on that conveyor belt, that treadmill, and you're really going nowhere.
Yeah, I
Right.
agree with that. It's amazing with how everything's been hijacked so much that yeah, it's easy to get lured into seemingly good things that seem like they could be positive for, conscious evolution, but you get into it and then it's again, it's washing you more and more negatively, and then much harder to get out of once that process begins.
Yeah. So let's see if this will, so it makes this place look interesting, rabbit holes of science, mathematics, history. For what purpose? Is it to try to figure out where we are, how we got here, where we're going when we leave? No, they're just like relating it to this world, which is just matrix world. So what's the point? So excuse the pun, they missed the point. Um, so people are like that Merkaba thing, they get all caught up with that, and I'm gonna create my Merkaba vehicle. I've already seen that shape around the light body also. The spiral graph that I was drawing, the atom structure, the Merkaba, and a cube shape around our light body. And I was getting, they were all sound frequencies. So they're keeping us trapped in the sacred geometry. But people are like, I'm going to create a Merkaba to travel around, but where are you going to go? You're going to travel around inside this construct. So that doesn't really interest me. Oops. So keep it simple, sweetie. Don't be stupid smart. Because I think if we just break this down to simple things, we've got it.
I agree with
The
you.
others,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, the other things are like distractions, rabbit holes to nowhere to keep us from getting this before they age us and then it's too late. So complex rabbit holes lead to Easter eggs. I just threw that in because it's coming up on Easter that continue to hatch.
Well, it's kind of like the Occam's razor, right? When you want to solve a problem, a lot of people like to uh, look at things and they like to delve into them so deeply. Whereas in reality, like Occam Razor says, the most simple explanation is probably the most accurate.
Yeah,
So,
because I think the AI is very simplistic. And if the computers we had were boiling down to zeros and ones, I mean, it's all just simplistic. We don't go down the rabbit holes because this isn't even the real world. Or like you were saying, Harry, if it was the real world, yeah, it might be worth, let's look into all this and experience it and whatever. So we have a Nigel nostalgic break. I think this is the end of the slides. I won't torture you with any more of those. So I was just going to talk about real quick what I was seeing with the light bodies. So when people were getting that, you know what, in 2020, it was being forced on us, and I was seeing the light bodies actually being taken, the light body being the middleman between the soul body and this body. So mirror again. And the three, right? Here we go with the three, the triangle. They were taking those, but I've also been looking at people that did not have the you know what, getting attacked by the bug beings, the fallen angels sucking the biological out of their light body. They're trying to change us to synthetic to upload us, of course, and for their purposes, disconnect us from that light body so it can keep running this place. But I was also seeing some interesting things with people that have gotten their chakras removed. I don't offer that service, but people offering the service, and their light body had turned to some plastic, like it was still there. They didn't take it like with this, but it was like turned to plastic, so I couldn't reconnect it. And God, that was even harder to deal with. So stuff going on. But my concern was, okay, so I can either get their soul to rebuild the light body. But what about the physical body? What about this? Like, I don't know. So my last video I just put up on YouTube's about physical body. So I think we're getting our answers coming because we're going to keep adapting. We're going to keep going. They're not going to stop us. So that was all I wanted to say about that. The and then I just had like these random things. I went back through my notes because Harry, you named it, X marks the spot. And I was like, okay, wait a minute. You and me and Irish Eyes, we're going to do a video about X marks the spot. Let me see if I go through my notes and try to find what we were going to talk about. So I did find a little bit, but I had Jack written down. I mean, it's ridiculous. My mind's just, the info is coming all the time. So, but I did find in my notes the Star of David, which we just drew from the dots, is somehow connected to how a demon merges with us. Like half the stuff that I get or read, I don't even remember. And a lot of it I didn't even do videos on. It's somehow connected to how a demon merges with us. So demon is interchangeable with AI. It's interchangeable with any spelling of demon, Daemon, daemon, drill force, like all these interchangeable terms. The 6-point star is connected to the key going into the top of the head when you are possessed, the joining of the demon with the human. And we've been on this search for the key, and a key is in a clock. So an AI demon, the key to wind the clock, and time's in the DNA. So all these things are connecting. So I'm just going to throw out a bunch of stuff I had here in the notes. These are like, could be videos in themselves, but maybe they'll spark a discussion. Logan and I had a conversation about a hole to let an alien. Okay, let me go to that in a second. I just wanted to mention one more thing that was connected to this. Because there's a long pause. Maybe I don't. I'll just get to it when I get to it. So some of the stuff in my notes real quick. Musk was given the green light to do what? So they're going to give him the green light if he's in charge of those Starlink things, to let ancient enemies back in. So is this during the X eclipse? So Logan and I had a conversation about a hole to let aliens in at one time. So I don't know if you remember any of that, because of course I don't. I saw a glitch or a wrench being put into the money system. So if they try to take it down as a dead man switch, and some of it might be connected to McAfee and the crypto tug of war on the timeline. They're erasing our past, making time go faster. There's a link. I was going to do a video on the X because it's on all the shields, the coat of arms and stuff. But I got all will be recovered. Leaders on Mars are called Elons. The solar X class flare, the solar flare is called class X. March and April, there's people predicting a Carrington event. Okay, so this was the part about the X, the CCCC that we were going to talk about, Harry, the Cosmic Coincidence Control Center. An attempt has been made to fix the destiny of people, a computer named Fate, esoterically oriented, the 3 fates, like in mythology, that unroll the timeline. A triangle, 3 fates, a triangle. And we were also looking into that JFK movie where he died an X on the pavement and all that. So we were going to do a whole video on all that. Of course, I don't remember. The sun and moon are electrical like lightning. They cross paths in an eclipse, making an X, connecting with our electrical body. All right. And then there's more, but I'm going to skip some of it. I'm almost done. There's more that connect into this. I think I could have got this organized better. Do the giants come after the darkening? So that would be the blackout, awaken and inhabited by gods. So I think some of this is connected to all this, what's coming. They're letting all these demons in. Do they want to occupy us? Is that what they want? So they're changing, like I was talking about, changing our light body, changing our bodies so they can occupy us. The world is not what we think it is. It could be a beautiful place but we have to do a change in the timeline. So if they're planning these events, we have to refuse it and switch the timeline. A change in timeline or perception, because I talked about them putting lenses over our eyes and stuff to make us see what they want. So a change in timeline or a change in perception is the same thing. It actually takes us to a new place because time is in the DNA. And a switch in perception, you can change locations. So we can bypass all this crap they're trying to plan for us. And that's kind of also following up with somebody that asked about 5D or we're going to a new Earth thing. No, it's just all we have to do is just they keep pulling us on that timeline, inserting it, and we just switch our perception over to what we want to see. I also have here is all the Starlinks going up to create a uniform hologram, and I got a yes on that to hook us to the Borg. Now that he could have changed sides by now, Elon or whatever could be playing both sides. Is I felt like the Antichrist reign. So I have here, will Antichrist reign for 7 years happen with the US, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada fighting and taking down? I think that's what's in the predictions, right? I said yes, but it feels like 7 months, not 7 years. So there's the time thing again. This might be, am I going too much?
No, you're good.
This is okay. This might be in reference to archaics? I might have answered a question somebody asked. Is the Great Pyramid designed to take down the Phoenix cycle and or the collapse the AI that's running this place, right? We have AI running this place, and I think they might have switched which AI is running it. I got a yes, which means we could go back to our real sun. Yes. Would this be accomplished by exiting their timeline and directing ourselves to a different one? Yes, which is what I was just talking about. Let's create our own timeline. And you can go in and actually look at your soul and light body. You can see where they've inserted their freaking stuff to get us distracted, to make something bad happen to us, and as a collective, get us on their timeline where they can enroll these events. Can we stop the sun darkening during the Phoenix event? Yes. Is the sun darkening what Passover is about? I don't know if I had an answer to that. But there's also a black satellite up there, the Black Knight, that everybody forgets about. It's been there for, I don't know what, thousands of years, according to scientists. They don't know what it is. So why is it sitting there in our atmosphere? And I did a video on that, and I think it's same material as black goo. So I have something about that. And then I think I'm done. No, maybe I don't, but it was, I think it was connecting us to some other planetary or planned net. It was bringing information in and helping create what we're perceiving. So if they're using sound frequencies around our light bodies, and we have a shield or a veil up giving us a light frequency to make us see what they want us to see, we have sound frequencies making us see and hear what we're hearing and creating this. And if that satellite's part of that, because I remember getting, if we take down the sound frequency that they're sending, we will suddenly see what this really is. And we can go to, maybe it's lifting an overlay, right? A matrix overlay under a real world or over a real world, or maybe it's whatever. I don't know what that all means. But I have the pointed star, which is the Star of David, not just an androgyny symbol. It is the key going into the top of the head, the possession joining the demon with the human. The gods want to come back. The deados, or zombies or whatever, are the magicians, the ones that stick around and don't want to die. So they pawn off their karma on us, and they jump bodies. So they body jump. That's part of the Phoenix thing they're all talking about, because they're all going to take a new body. All the magicians. Okay, one last thing. They're sending a mind program, which is the cube, the Merkaba, and the atom shape around our light body. The Black Knight, here it is. Black Knight satellite is holding the entire matrix in place, because this is a mind matrix. It broadcasts the signal from our soul groups consensus, the hypnotized, all of us as soul groups hypnotized, sending the visual. We create the visual. It's the eye in the sky, which might be related, Logan, to what we saw, the hole and the demons coming in. The Truman Show wall of the game. It sends in binary. So this is the Black Knight satellite. It sends in binary code, ones and zeros. What does that tell us? It's telling us it's, it's sending signals from and to another planet, another matrix, and it feels like it's a ship. So I don't know. I just threw a load at you. But we can go wherever you want, Harry, if you want to do your.
What I think you've described right there in the last few minutes is nothing more than Plato's cave on steroids. Because it's not like there's a fire behind us casting a shadow on the wall right in front of us. Now it's the TV screen or the computer screen or the phone screen that's on all the time, whether we're using our navigation system in our car, whether we're on the phone talking to someone, or just watching the superb owl or the Super Bowl. Because, I did a video on how a mirror, because you talked about mirrors, a mirror used to be something you looked into and saw your reflection, and you, as the person, made the mirror do what you wanted. But in reality now, the mirror is actually telling us what to do by shaping what it wants us to like. So it'll create a trend. Someone will do something and say, "Oh, I want to get that haircut," or "I'm going to buy that new pair of shoes," or "I want those chips that they're eating." It's not you doing what and making the mirror show a reflection. It's the mirror showing something and you're being the reflection acting on what you saw. So yeah, I think you nailed it. It's a new version of Plato's cave, and because it's so multidimensional now, it has that much more an effect on us.
Yeah, I
That's
agree. People are being driven. They're thinking things, they're doing things, thinking that they're thinking it, but really they're not thinking it. It's
They're
being
not.
put into their brain. It's like I had
That's
this
it.
analogy like with my dad. It's like he said something about wanting a steak, and I said, I bet you drove by a sign, an Outback sign. That's probably exactly what made you think that. And he laughed. He goes, as a matter of fact, that's right. That's why you want the steak. You know what I mean? And so that whole concept multiplied by absolutely everything. It's like, unless you're living in the woods in a cabin somewhere, away from all the 5G towers and everything, because I think even all the 5G towers and everything, they're emitting signals with subliminal thoughts going into your mind. It's like, if why is it that someday you're depressed and you don't even know why? Why are you having a depressed day? It's like, why, are you feeling these negative things when there's really absolutely no reason to feel like that? Well, there's a really good, in my opinion, good chance that these waves are being pumped out. Man, between HARP and all the satellite stuff they got going on, low frequency waves, all the stuff that they've been experimenting with for a long time now. I mean, we're constantly subjugated to all this stuff. It's absolutely wild.
Well, like the
There's so
basic example, an earworm, right? You've heard of earworms?
Yeah.
You,
Yeah.
you all of a sudden you start singing a song, or you're singing a jingle from 40 years ago that you haven't heard, yet you can recite it verbatim.
I was singing a Billy Joel song in my head yesterday, and I'm going, how did this get in my head? Because I don't even listen to the radio. I'm like,
I
how
don't
did
either.
this get into my head? Telling you.
can't
Weird.
listen to it because I get them looping, but that's a brilliant analogy, Plato's cave, and everything you said, Logan. It's making me think of again, this place is simple. It's just light frequencies and sound frequencies that are making us see things, hear things, think things. That's all it is. You shut those off, and magnetics and a few other real simple things, and they're creating this whole world, or having us create it. But something else about I heard about CERN is that it's something like there's a beast in CERN that is Lucifer joined with human. I don't know what the hell that means, but it made me think of it when you said harp and all that. But, so Harry, I don't know if what you were saying, it reminded me of, I keep getting work with the water. I don't even know what this means yet, but Gaj Lamast had put up a video about water and how you send a sound frequency to it and you can make a shape come up out of it, or you can make vibrations, same with sand, and that we are the water is what he was saying. So I don't know what the hell that means, but it feels like it's something significant that we can do to stop the frequencies. And there's something with the key. We've been looking for the key for quite a while on my channel, and it might very well be the key in the top of the head where they're trying to, everything's with the DNA. They've made the DNA age. They've made the light, the infrared light of our body go outward. When they're finding, if you direct it back inward, you start healing. So, I don't know. There's a ton of stuff going on. It all boils down to very simple stuff. It's not complex. It's not even interesting. The stuff that, I mean, that's like sacred geometry is just like, are you kidding me? So anyway, wherever you guys want to go, I'm going to shut up for a while because I've been yapping, but
I think
whatever you,
where you can connect it to is like cymatics. Everything vibrates, right? We're vibrating. And because we are composed of so much, what, 70-80% water, and we have the minerals within us too. So we could be the vehicle that they need to propagate that signal. If they bombard us with the metallic through the double pronged bite on the arm, if you know what I'm talking about, right? Um, if we have that metallic infusion, we're just like the cell towers at that point because it just flows through us that much easier. So I think that could be why the human, well, I'm sorry, I don't use that word human. That's why I call us man and woman, okay? Because I personally think that human is only a fractal of what a man is. So
good point. I use it just
mm,
to differentiate between soulless and souled, or yeah, but not even soul's not the best word. But so what do you
yeah.
think it means then? Because we're like antennas, cell towers. What does it mean, do you think, either one of you to work, we need to be working with water that's going to, like, what does that mean if we're the water? No, like, okay, I'm working with water. What does this mean? I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. If not, we'll move on.
Well, you know how we all said that we don't watch a lot of TV. I'll jump on just to see what the heck are they talking about, right? But when it comes to like the main events like Super Bowl and the Oscars, I mean, did you see what's going on the Oscars this year? Total uh, humiliation rituals. It's just if we remove ourselves from what the masses are doing, like Logan said, take yourself and put yourself in like a country environment where you're not being subjected to what the masses are seeing or doing. You've just separated yourself from what being plugged in, right? Instead, we're being individuals and not participating in what they want. I think that's how working with the water is almost kind of like don't participate in what they're doing, the malicious ones. That's probably a good way of seeing how to do it. But
Okay.
yeah, that's how I would interpret it.
Just work with yourself. Okay. Yeah. Love it.
Yeah, the other aspect
Well,
of
okay, yeah,
oh, go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Harry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So one thing I remembered real quick was that in the old days, prior to people uh, people used to go to the water cooler, right, and drink water, and they all shared a cup. And then people came in and said, "Oh, that's unsanitary. We got to use individual cups." But you get to the water cooler, you talk about stuff. And one guy said, "Yeah, I was chopping wood this weekend," and the other guy says, "Oh, I went fishing." But today, everyone's talking about something different. They're all talking about the same thing. They're all saying Did you watch the game? Did you see what happened on the 50-yard line? Or did you see this guy hit that grand slam home run? They're all talking about the same thing because they're all being mind controlled to watch the same events. Where now you're watching the commercials say to you, take this pill if you have high cholesterol, or you want to lose weight, take that O medication that will eventually you'll lose weight, but you'll lose something else too, your life. So we have to separate ourselves from that how we all just go to one section and all do the same thing at the same time. We got to go back to being individuals and going to that game where you're coaching instead of sitting on the couch and watching, you know.
Yeah, that's
I like it.
I think was it Socrates, I think coined the term cybernetic. And I think that, this has been going on a long time. How a single person per se can control an entire mass. Basically, it means to steer the thinking of people. I do think that it is important to participate in society, but I also think that it's important to have the detachment from it so that you're able to see the game that you're playing. Um, and of course, it comes down to the question of, well, what can I do while this is going on? I think that developing a really strong mental toughness is important, and it's not always very comfortable to do that or to put yourself in those situations, but it's just really important. I mean, from the time, if we look at a linear timeline, we look at our ancestors coming up into this world, you had to have a strong mental toughness if you're going to live in this world. It's nothing new under the sun. It's just the scenarios have just sort of changed throughout time. We've become very lazy, as people. I can see it all around. I see it in myself sometimes. It's like I'll avoid things because I don't want to deal with it. But the more I say, no, I'm going to deal with this, I feel so much better as a result of it. I think that the more that people develop that and their sense of discernment too, we'll start to see these changes because we'll start to be like thinking again on our own. That's what that strong mental toughness is, putting yourself in those scenarios to where you're learning a lot from that experience of it. So the time away from all this craziness, I think, is absolutely important because we're all just, we're people, I don't care how much about hypnosis and mind control and all this stuff. Everybody's susceptible to it. You can't escape not being susceptible to it, but you can become better at being aware of it and noticing it. So those walks in nature, those times to get away, the meditating, I think it's highly important, and developing that self mental toughness and emotional intuitiveness too. That emotional aspect is extremely important because when you're dealing with other people, if anything is resonating or coming off of you and you're that type of personality, it rubs off on other people. You know what I mean? And you're not even giving anything away. You're giving away, but you're not suffering as a result of it. It becomes more of a shared experience. People become very appreciative of just being around you. I see that as this sort of the world is beginning to change because these people that are whatever you want to call them, that's happening, that it's a freight train. To me, it's not stopping. It's like they're going to go through and they're going to damage the hell out of everything in their path. But it's the people that are really developing themselves that are going to be standing on the other end of it, that will eventually develop the world that I personally see, that I've always seen in my visions, a really beautiful world. I've tried to talk to people about, the world that I know, this really beautiful place. And everyone kind of laughs at me. Yeah, sounds like utopia. Sounds like this, sounds like that. And I guess I don't have the right words, but I've seen this world. And I almost feel like when we start talking about like the reincarnation, soul trap and all that, which is very fascinating, I ask myself that question. I'm like, well, what about you? I'm like, what, like once you no longer have an identity, you're no longer a name, and you go into the astral, and what else is out there? I don't know. What are you going to come back? And I think to myself, I'm like, yeah, I am, because I see a lot of beauty here and I see a lot of things that need to happen. And I'm like, I feel like I'm going to keep coming back until this damn place is the way I know it can be. Because I don't know, I think there's a lot of beauty here, and it's just been completely hijacked and invaded. And this is our place. I think that we, once the veil is lifted, it's going to be a beautiful place.
Yeah, because I think right now we're in the mind program of the fake world, the inverted.
Absolutely.
And it's that switch in perception. Oh, we can go, maybe it's just an overlay, matrix overlay over a real world, but they've got all these stories and they've got us in 8 million virtuals with all their own stories. And so then we forget what the hell's going on. Like the Matrix movie where they say the real world's been destroyed. You're up. That's why we uploaded you into the, and so that's part of the story here. Like if you try to read on it, you get the real world's destroyed. You're uploaded here. And it's like, okay, that ain't right. So I feel like that's part of the whole Matrix story. But yeah, utopia is normal, right? Everybody's like, oh, that's a utopia. Yeah, that's probably normal. So I think we can get this job done this time around or real soon because I think we can steer this ship. So the literal ship we're on, we can steer it and we can break down the fake part of it, get out of the mind program, get back to the real. But
Yep.
because it's very simple. Keep it simple. It's very simple. It's just magnetics, light, sound. They're just blasting you with frequencies. They got you hypnotized, telling you to create this. This is what you see. And it's not really all that complex. Well, let me get all bogged down in sacred geometry and this and that and this esoteric study and that esoteric. It's like, no, no, you're not gonna, okay, you're gonna waste your lifetime. You didn't figure it out. So, all right, I'm gonna shut up. You guys, if you want to take off Logan with something, or Harry, if you want to do your presentation, whatever, I'm good with anything.
Yeah, sure. Let me just share my screen.
Do I need to make you host, by the way?
I think yeah, I think you have to.
Okay. Do you have a share button?
It says, yeah, it says I'm the host, so I can share.
Well,
There we go. All right. So, like we had said, you can see that, right?
yep.
All right. Like we said, when we started to talk about doing the presentation, I wanted to name it X marks the spot. And if you guys had something that kind of correlated with that, maybe we could all talk on the same issue. Initially, I wanted to talk about this on a more broader scale, but as we shared prior to recording, um, I had to cut it short, so I won't delve too deep into the X part and what I really want to connect it to, but this is a good starting point. So we'll just get started. So X marks the spot, part one. I have this depiction of like almost like the honeycomb effect, where you have all these compartments, and you might just be in that little X that I have indicated with the red arrow. If I didn't know any better, we're probably right there, is what I said. So let's see. How can I? It's not going forward. There we go. So I use the X as like expert. I'm not an expert, but most people who are in control, they're going to try to convince you that you're probably in one of these parts, like, we talked about the globe Earth
Yep.
versus possibly something else. But they're going to try to convince you that you're here, there, everywhere, that you might not be. So, breaking news, I got some news for you. Um, so what I want you to know is that if you think that you're any of those places on the map, you're wrong. Instead, you're probably in a place that's not really controlled by anyone, but you actually have that control capability on your own. But they want to let you know that you're in some finite place that they control. Now, who's the one that's wanting to
Ew.
control you? But
Can't
you're
get that
not being
many.
controlled even by Creepy Joe. You can look at the expression
Gross.
on her face. Does she really enjoy this?
Ugh. That's
This is
giving me the
this is
shivers, those
how
hands. Ugh.
doesn't that make you doesn't that how you feel when you are trying to get something done and the establishment's telling you, well, in order to do this, you have to do X, Y, and Z first. Like, you want to buy cryptocurrency, you have a limit to how much your bank even will let you use, and they'll control your money for up to a week, maybe even longer, based on your trade history or whatever. But I recently wanted to look into the whole crypto market and see what that's all about. And so when I'm buying some, the bank says, sorry, we've cut you off. You can't buy any more for another week. And I'm like, why? Am I being like investigated? So I thought that was kind of funny. So I feel like when the bank tells me, hey, stop right there, I feel like that's what my face looks like. Or how about the billionaire who, he's way better than the alternative, but is he really helping me, or is he really looking at his own best interest? I don't know. I think of this society that we live in, this realm. People think, oh, there's a good and there's a bad. I think there's way more than just two teams. I think that there are several factions, and they're probably at some point they're joined together and fighting together, and other times they're against each other, and sometimes the three or four or however many factions, they kind of collaborate together and keep us off balance so that we can't really know who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. Why do so many people still support Creepy? You just wonder, is it just because they're NPCs and they know better? Are the ones that have a spirit inside them, are they the ones saying, hey, MAGA? Or is it just there's another team out there that we just haven't aligned with or just haven't figured out? So that's the question I have. And that could be like a point of discussion that we could have. So how should we express ourselves in the time when we're supposed to make these choices, when all these options that we have, they're not optimal? Hey, you got a choice. What kind of choice do I really have with those last two that we looked at? Do I have an option, or am I just being forced down this funnel of looking at two things, and someone in the background says, okay, now you got to pick? I have an answer for that. No, I'm going to use this expletive. Fuck off. I'm not given a choice. And if I'm not given a real choice, I'm not going to make the choice, at least that you're offering. I'm going to step away from this matrix that we're in, and I'm going to go into nature, and I'm going to do my own thing. And if you're going to come after me and you're going to try to force your opinion on me, well, then that's where you're going to meet up with my my reality. So what do we need to do? It's the hard thing that most people dread doing. And Logan, you said this earlier. Some of the things that we have to do are the things that we hate to do. And it's not until you start to do that thing that you realize the benefit you get from actually doing it. Like, you go to the gym, you're going to go and do some kind of workout, and you say to yourself, oh, that's too hard. But then you push yourself and you reap the benefits of pushing yourself. And then after doing it, the repetition and coming back and doing it again and again, you definitely reap the benefits of that. But it's doing the thing that initially you're programmed, I think, to say to yourself, I don't want to do the hard work. And that hard work, you got to solve for X. It's an unknown. You don't know just by looking at this part of the equation. I mean, this is a simple equation, but you say to yourself, I don't know what X is. It's hiding. And all you got to do is train someone and say, look, just multiply both sides of the equation by 3. Then you know what X is. That's simple. X is 12. I use 12 because of the clock that they will live in the 12 and the 12, which is 24. But again, the answer is really not complex. It's just hidden. And they do this so they can gain the advantage. Okay, so that's where we talk about X. And this is why initially I thought, what is X? What are we looking at? Maybe X isn't what we think it is. What if X is not really an X at all? Maybe it's something different. And what if I told you that this X that you've been looking at this whole time is it's actually a different letter, but it's disguised to look like an X. And that's the intent, is just to keep you from knowing who's actually ruling over you, who's controlling you, who's dominating you. So they use um, the obfuscation of our language by translations, by altering the way things look, just to keep you off balance. So in the old days, you'd have to enter into a contract. Okay, so you go to this little town, and someone's going to have you sign on the dotted line, or where the X is on the contract. And once you sign, you create that binding agreement, of which we know that in a lot of cases in this world, we have agreements that we haven't even agreed to, and we've never signed anything, but we're still bound by it. Like, the birth certificate. I don't want to go into all this rabbit hole of how we're bound to this legal system, but you'd see a contract, you see this X over here, and then they say, okay, just sign your name right here. Well, you go back 150 years, maybe even less. What percentage of the population actually knew how to read or write? I'd say less than 30%. Who could afford an education and they knew how to write their own name? So what they say, oh, just put an X on that, and boop, there you go. The contract is now signed with an X. Okay, so what am I getting at? What am I talking about? Why am I talking about this X all the time? What am I doing? So let's go back to some of the oldest languages, and we'll go to like a Paleo Hebrew or a Phoenician language. And if you look at this one right here, that's the early version of the letter Tau or Tav, or however you want to describe it or pronounce it. The Tav looks like a T or a cross. But eventually, as time passed, they changed it to this symbol. And eventually, like to modern day, it looks almost like R. And will the real X please step forward? So it's like a catch-22. And I say catch-22 because the Hebrew the Hebrew alphabet has 22 letters, unlike ours, which has 24. So the 22, the Tav is the last letter. It's like the Z of our alphabet. So originally it looked like a T, like I said, and they rotated it to look like an X, and now it looks like an N. But nevertheless, the X is very visible in the outcome of a lot of the things that happen to us throughout history. So let's continue on. So I said this slide, X that, please, X it out. So in the ancient times, there was an expulsion. We know that Adam and Eve were supposedly expelled or expulsion out of the garden. There was an expulsion. We know that the garden was probably not some place that they're describing like going into the fields and having beautiful area away from the hustle and bustle of daily life. It was probably just like a laboratory where it wasn't just one man and one woman that were created. It was an experiment to create a whole breed of people. And a lot of people estimate that the creation of this Adama probably took hundreds of years by these entities that were trying to create this new life form. And then after Adam was made, they think that it took several years of trial and error to create Eve even. What about the word expelled? we read in the Bible, we know that if you are lukewarm in accepting God, that God would expel you out of his mouth. Uh, just like typical Englishmen would take a sip of his tea, and if it was lukewarm, he would spit it out. That's the comparison that a lot of Bible teachers make nowadays. So the expulsion, being expelled, being excommunicated. If you in the time of the biblical times, if you had defiled your body and broken one of those 600 plus uh, rules that they have, the 10 Commandments on steroids, you were kicked out of the city for at least 7 days. You were defiled. And if you had leprosy, you were gone forever. You were never allowed back into the city gates. How about the word exalt? Exalt, that one's a pretty telling word for me. Worshippers would venerate and pray to praise to their deity. This for me is it's obvious that they're talking about an alternate God, not the true one, but they're exalting this alternate. The the devil that rules this world, or this entity that's not real, not the real God. And then of course the Exodus story, that the Hebrews being kicked out of Egypt, in doing this preparation for this video, how many websites did I run into that said, well, there's no real physical evidence that the Hebrews were in captivity uh, in 1500 BC. It's a story and we've got to learn from it. But the way that the X is used with the E before X, electric X, EX, there's a reason why the X makes that sound, because it makes the E sound, really, right? X. So maybe you could have eliminated that letter altogether. I don't know. That's where I ended it. But I do plan on expanding on the X and how it's going to be incorporated into what's going on next month. Next month it's going to be pretty interesting to see how a lot of this X language, with Elon Musk, SpaceX, the eclipse, the comet that supposedly is coming around with the eclipse. A lot of stuff I'm going to tie into, but the main thing I'm going to tie into is how the X is incorporated with what's going on in the Middle East right now and the city of Gaza. So with that, if I want to give this back to you, Anmarie, where do I do that at? Since you are the expert at this program.
That was good,
Oh,
Harry. I'm looking
hit the
forward to
participants.
I'm looking forward to the next one, man. You left me hanging there like, oh man, I want to know more.
Cliffhanger. I know. So we all have to go over to your channel now, because we
Yes,
just
we
had this
do.
discussion in the meetup and Patreon. So yep, I'm gonna be there
Let's
whenever
see.
you get that up. Go to
All right.
participants and then hover over your thing. You can just stay
There you go.
host because I'm still recording.
It's okay. It's back on to
I
you.
like being in control. Just
Yeah,
kidding.
that's exactly what I thought.
Oh God.
No, that's a joke. But
No,
a
that
lot of
was
the things you guys mentioned, I think it tied into our discussion in general. But you know, the X for me, I mean, because I speak Greek as well, for me, the X doesn't even make that sound. The X makes the H sound. Like I got my cup here. The X in Greek makes the sound. My name is in Greek is Haralambos, and it's not spelled with an H, it's spelled with an X. So
interesting.
when we say the word X, I mean the letter X, it just has this different feel, for me. It doesn't indicate what it really means. And then look at the Hebrew. The X makes the tau sound. So it just, I really think that language and the way we alter it through time is just another one of those masking agents that you talked about, Emery, that creates that filter of, we're going to funnel you down this paradigm and we're going to make you think this because we have limited control. And the only way we can get you to that part of control is to strike when it's hot. And it's hot when you are thinking this, seeing this, feeling this, and experiencing all those things all at once. And we do that through our media. And that's it for now.
The X, I mean, in the occult world, the X is probably the most important letter in the alphabet, at least, you know, in the English alphabet. For a lot of different reasons, a lot of reasons I don't know, but I do know that the X, it has a lot to do with black magic, has a lot to do with psychological manipulation, the way they use it. Even in, you know, if you take the numerology of the number X. I mean, it's splattered everywhere and how they use it. It's very interesting. I've read some interesting articles on X too, and I'm like, yeah, I could see that. I can see how that's their number one, man. The number one, X.
Yeah,
Like earlier, I
Hex.
said that our alphabet has 24 letters. No, 26. That was
Oh, I
funny that I
just,
said that.
I know I didn't say anything because I figured, God, maybe he knows something I don't know about
I
the
thought the
letters.
same
No.
thing.
I was just thinking, you said X and spells, because I think this whole place is spells. It's sound spells, light spells, verbal spell, or whatever, language spells. Hex is the H sound in front of X, hex. So maybe they took the and turned it, I don't know what the hell I'm saying. But it's interesting that you said everything ties together. That was what I was just about to say. Is it's wild how what you said tied together with what I said. And that honeycomb picture, is that the craters? Like where you have the X?
Well, see, back when I was with Nigel on the Devil's Playground, I told him, I think that we are probably living on a soccer ball, where
Oh, yeah.
each of the patches on the soccer ball represent either a black or a white. The black is the pentagonal islands, and the white are the hexagonal ice divisions, and that we probably are living on those patches that are flat. Maybe the entirety is a ball, who knows? But that honeycomb picture was, I think, one of the domes that we live on where this experimentation happened when these bodies were created for us to live in as in the fake realm. Whereas in the real realm, we were given this opportunity to experience this life, but it was a benevolent education. Yeah, is where we're coming in and being the best we can be. In this realm, we're being formed into what they want us to be for their benefit, right? Not ours. So yeah, that honeycomb picture was, you're right here, and you're trapped here in this prison, and you're not getting out until, because we can't get out either. You're not getting out.
We're just gonna
We're
keep
all
body
trapped in here
jumping.
together.
They got us body jumping like they're body jumping. So
Yeah.
that picture of Biden behind the woman, it just reminded me like the entities, they're always on people's backs hiding, but it also was like the monkey or the demon on your back. And he had his head right here, like he's whispering in her ear. And that's the mind programs where, people think it's their shadow self. Why am I having these bad thoughts? Or why am I? And also, like you said, the TV whispering in our ear, telling us the buzzing we're getting in our ear that has coded words in it. Bah, 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 bah. And then we think it's us. Oh, we're bad. We're having these thoughts. But that's what I was thinking of, like the demon on your back whispering in your ear. Is that picture looks exactly like that to me. But
We know that when we're watching TV too, there's a flicker rate on that screen, and our perception only captures part of it, but our brain captures all of it. And then so if you're going to watch that, like I said, the Superb Owl game, you're stopping at some point and you go grab a bag of some snack that you want to eat because it's telling you to eat something. You know, commercially, they're telling you, they're controlling you. They're telling you what to do, and you don't even know it. And that's why, if you're gonna watch that, you just watch it. Try to put a filter on there because it's gonna affect you somehow. So
I think that's why the people support Creepy, because it's like the ball game, support him. But I just had a wild thought because this Super Bowl is people started talking about the game being rigged and actually showing plays where they thought they were so I'm wondering, is the demon on their back whispering in their ear, okay, drop the ball, do this, do that, like, I don't know.
They have
Just a thought I
oh,
had.
yeah, Logan, I think I want you to say that what you're gonna say, but real quick, I think that it's not even a demon that needs to do this because the controlling people are gonna just say, look, we have this dirt on you, or we're going to pay you extra. You're going to play. Most of the people don't know what's going on. I think all sports are rigged in terms of where there's a lot of money involved. They control them to the point where, okay, 90% of the players don't know anything, but the ones that are going to make the most impact, they're the ones that kind of know what's going on. And then, of course, maybe some of the refs might know. But there's a lot involved in making these things happen, either go one way or the other. Because in that game that just was played, there's so many factors that are in play. Like, oh, you have that singer who's dating that one player, and because she
Don't
wouldn't
even
do the
say that
halftime
name.
show, I don't want
She's
to
a
say the
witch.
name
Don't
either.
say the name.
Yeah, I
A
don't know.
black
So,
witch.
but they package her in such a cute way that you say there's no way she can be a witch, right? But if someone's a devil, you think they're going to put them out there with horns and a pitchfork to make you believe? So I think all this stuff is it's all intertwined: money, blackmail, whispering in the ear. Hey, you want to get that bonus? Drive the ball right up to the goal line and then drop it. That's how you're going to do it. Logan, go
Otherwise,
pick it up right there.
we're gonna reveal the tapes of you being at the rituals.
I was essentially going to say the same thing. Exactly. Like they've developed a technology back in the 1950s. The CIA could have been another group. I'm not too sure, but it was a weapon. It was a weapon that this guy developed, and he was testing it in the public, like at like a shopping mall. He'd literally point it and shoot it at, and he was getting all kinds of results. People would just trip and stumble. They would hold their stomach like they were getting a stomach ache, and
Hmm.
and so he ended up resigning because he saw what they were doing and he didn't want any part of it. So he quit. I forget the guy's name, but anyway, this is in the 1950s. So it's like, you take the technology now, you got a guy running holding the ball. I mean, satellites, man, just boom, he's hit it, and for some reason he just kind of opens his arm and the ball drops. I think they got it so dialed in between paying guys off, paying refs off, they can get the score exactly the way they want it every game. There was a book written on how they rig games, and the guy that wrote the book said that soccer is actually the #1 most highly rigged game for whatever reason. But it was my dad who told me about that because he's always going on about how rigged games are. Yeah, that game was so rigged, that was so rigged, but it's big business. So you're essentially watching sports and you're rooting for a team thinking that, it's all happening spontaneously. But it's my personal belief that it's not spontaneous at all. It's very, very coordinated. It just looks like it's, a spontaneous thing. But that's the whole world, I believe, anyway. It's like we've been duped into believing that the world is a spontaneously evolving paradigm. That to me is the biggest trick that these people have done to us. And so that's the way we go about our normal day life. But really, it's the opposite. It's the opposite of that. There's nothing that occurs that's spontaneous at all. I mean, maybe some things in people's individual lives, like there's spontaneous things that do happen, they come up. But on the overall scheme and the exoteric realm, it's dialed in, like everything you see. And the more you recognize it, like I know Anmarie, a lot of people most people that watch your channel, and you too, Harry, they all know, like you can see it's becoming more and more scripted, and the reality is just like, how can it even get even more scripted than this. And it's insane to me. But anyways, yeah, I'll stop there. That was my little rant on that.
How
that's
how come
brilliant.
it's getting so obvious and so many people are in such denial? I really think that there's still a big percentage of people walking around. Either they're like I said before, NPCs, or they've been drinking the juice for so long that they're addicted to it and are afraid to stop. You know, like we said, going to the gym, oh, I don't want to feel sore the next day, or oh man, do I really want to lift that weight? It's so heavy. I might tear a meniscus or whatever. But the bottom line is if you decide that you're just not going to do the work, it's going to stay trapped. And a lot of these Biden, and I don't want to just put him in there. I mean, what's our
Why not? He's their fall
alternative?
guy anyway. They're gonna use him as a fall.
Oh, yeah. I mean, who's next? Gruesome Newsom?
They're all
Who's
disposable.
next?
Yeah.
You know, because this guy that we have in California, he's bad news, but so many other people outside of our state here in California are just going to say, "Oh, he's a good new guy, young, fresh face," and he sounds so centrist. Oh man, this guy's a left winger all the way. But like I said, even now with some of the stuff that's going on in Gaza, even the right wingers still supporting death and killing. You know, they may be pro-lifers, but when it comes to little kids being killed in the womb versus little kids being killed on the streets, it's like two different stories for them. So I don't understand that part. I think there's again are being people being bought out, and so they just because every time we send money to Israel, you know the government's getting a kickback. If not, it's like something like 60% of that money goes right back into the legislators' pockets or something like that.
Yeah, I say as soon as you see a contradiction, like pay attention to the contradictions, especially with the mainstream media stuff, because as soon as you see the contradiction there, then you know that it's foul. Like this is kind of the way I look at Elon Musk. I'm like, I think there's a certain movement of people that are looking at him as being some kind of righteous, savior type personality. But it's like, well, wait a second here, promoting free speech and all this, but meanwhile, he's putting chips in people's brains, and this is the whole thing. So it's like, like to me, that's a massive contradiction. You're not out for freedom and individual choice and all this stuff when you're putting chips in people's brains, because I think we all know where that's going. You know what I mean? So, and it's the same thing with Mr. T too. It's like, see, I don't make predictions, but if I was part of this, a team member on this group, that's the controlling group here, I would say that Mr. T would be the best person to be putting in there, because really what's happening is, especially in America, you have a really strong conservative movement. Like I live in Florida, and in Florida, I mean, there's rednecks everywhere, gun toting, the whole 9 yards. They love paying with cash, and they got a lot of gold in their safe and all this stuff. So so part on being on the team of the controlling group, I'm gonna be like, well, what's a really good chess move here? Well, put Mr. T in there, because guess what's going to happen when we go central bank digital currency? We need to make a seamless, easy transaction for that. And who can we get to trust these pesky conservatives to do that? Of course, it'd be him, right? So big crash happens, it gets on the speech and starts going on. To me, it's the perfect way to get the whole other group on board with signing their life away with digital currencies. But this is my
Yeah, I
opinion.
hope not.
Well, here's the thing. You know, once this like crypto's trying to make this big push, becoming more accepted, and so some people are like, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to get a digital currency, so I'm going to go and buy precious metals. So what do? You don't want to buy the digital metals. You want to buy, you want to hold the actual physical metal in your hand. So what you do is you buy it and then you store it at home. What are they doing? Like I told you, I have a family member who just recently had her place burglarized. Why? Because the guy who's controlling this country right now, Creepy Joe, has opened our borders to these people coming through South America. They're coming right in at free will. And what they're doing is they're organizing and they're going to your house, and they know from your demographics that you may be carrying precious metals. So the goal is drop the borders, allow these criminals in, let's protect them with free housing and all this stuff. And in turn, within a 2 or 3 month cycle, they come in, they steal things from all the houses, and they go right back to where they came from, untraceable, and unable to be arrested or anything like that. So I think there you go. It's so many layers of this, how our government has just deteriorated to the point where we tried to protect ourselves from the digital currency. So we go to a physical currency and someone breaks into our house and takes that too. They're trying to cover all the bases.
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
very interesting point there. Yeah.
I just keep feeling like it's not gonna, that all will be recovered. That's what I keep feeling like, everything will be recovered. As far as the 3D world. But I also keep feeling, I don't know if you're sensing this, but I keep feeling like we're on the verge of joy. I keep getting snippets of it. Like the true joy that's us as limitless spirits. We've been held like this for so long by frequencies, by everything. And it's like we're gonna burst at the seams at some point with us waking up and not going with the pep, pep, pep. So I feel like that joy, I don't know, I just keep feeling like that's coming. I feel like a lot of the things they've been planning to do in this world are going to fail and have already failed. Some of them may slip through the cracks, like the things we're seeing happening. But I think a majority of it's getting stopped, and maybe it's by us, by our intentions, by our presence here. I don't know, but yeah, the Elon thing. I just made a couple notes. The Elon thing. I got on him alien AI, which to me means AI, part something else. And so for us, it would be part humanoid, part AI. So he's already some kind of thing, and he keeps talking about the mission, him and his ex-wife, the mission. But I felt like with Trump, whatever he was doing, whether it's good intention or bad intention, I kept feeling like whatever he's doing is a stepping stone for us and what we're trying to accomplish here, so that it's actually going to give us stepping stones to get this going where we want it to go as far as our spiritual purpose in being here or something like that. But I don't know if I'm right on that, but that's what I thought. The other thing I wrote down was, what was the name of the book with the rigging of the games? Do you know the name?
I'll ask my dad. Yeah, because he's the one who
Okay.
told me all about it. Because he's
Okay, I want to
Mr.
read it. I
Gamer
think I've
guy.
heard of it, but I want to read it.
It'd be good. Put it in comments.
Okay.
I'd like to
Somebody
know what
knows,
that is
put it in the
too.
comments. Anybody's watching, anybody has any thoughts on this? Anybody has thoughts on the X? Whatever. I'm sitting here with a not a hickory nut, horse chestnut, horse tree. What is it? Horse chestnut tree nut and an acorn, because I think it has the energy of the trees. So I don't care. Look, she's holding nuts. She's nuts. I don't care what you think. I think nature's the key, the energies of nature, getting out in nature, because they're making such a concerted effort, and they have been forever, to get us away, to separate us out of that, get us into the synthetic. And I think that's the whole key, the way back to the old ways returning, the joy returning, what you're talking about, Logan, that world returning, all of that. It's tied in with nature, and we're totally separated from it. Nothing else out there is. The plants, the animals, the tree, they're all still immersed, but we have been separated out. So I don't know where I'm going with that. Nowhere, because just babbling.
I
But
think that the more you know about the world that you live in truly is supremely important. But also there, as a balance there, it has to be, you have to know how to walk through it at the same time. And so having the knowledge of what's happening is paramount. You are always learning. You never know everything. And it's always a big learning experience, even the negative things. But again, as far as the experiential part of life, that is how we walk through. It's the exoteric and the esoteric. It has to be really balanced out. And again, the more mental fortitude that we can develop, that sense of discernment, strong emotional sense and intuition is really what is going to bring about a whole new realm. It's going to wash out the parasites. It is, because parasites, they eat and they eat and they eat until there's nothing left, and then they're gone and they die. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to, in my opinion, they're trying to keep us keep moving because they need us to keep sucking, and if we're gone, then they're gone. But the more that we develop our celestial divine consciousness inside of this body, the more we connect with that, understand it, develop it, is when we're going to see this third dimensional world develop. We're actually going to, I think, in my opinion, the way I feel about it is we're going to really truly see a spontaneously evolving paradigm. We're going to get back to that place, or we're going to develop it. I don't know if it's existed. I do know when you're talking about the joy, that is the same thing that I see. I keep having that same feel. It's not so much of a vision of what I can see, but it's a feeling of, wow, this is how it feels to live in this real realm. This is how it feels. This is absolutely beautiful and absolutely amazing. And it doesn't mean that there isn't, strife and hard things to deal with and all of that. It's just a feeling. It's a feeling of this feels like home. And that is what I'm like, I want to bring that here. I want to bring that where I am right now, not, let that go, develop that sense, because I feel like the more that we all develop that sense is what's going to change it all, That's my take on it.
Yeah, they want to keep
You're
the
right,
soul
100%.
battery here. Yeah, keep that soul battery here because it's running the place, but the spirit, the unlimited spirit that's within that, the experiential being it's this balance between being that experiential, limitless being that doesn't have anything really to learn, it just wants to experience, and being in a false, messed up, whatever this is. So the only thing you're learning here is how to function in a dysfunctional world. But I do think, and I've seen that also exactly what you're saying, because we are that experiential creator, extension of the creator, we are going to create the timeline. We've been, like Harry's saying, pulled into their timeline, follow this, do this, and we're going to go, the choices, right? The choices he talked about. We're going to go, oh, no, neither one. We're going to just create it out of nothing over here. We're going to make our own timeline out of nothing, out of joy, out of what we remember to be a real world. And I feel like eventually we're going to pull all of us out of here. Is what I think. And the more truth we realize here, the more a false world cannot hold the truth. It's two opposites. So the more you pull the truth in from your soul, your spirit, and remember, the more it starts to create cracks and break this down. And then with us also on top of that going, and neither choice, like Harry said, we're gonna create our own choice. Why not? No, they didn't tell us we could do that. So it's probably what we should do. So let's create our own timeline. Let's remove the timelines they're yanking us onto. And before you know it, our perception's going to go boop, and we're going to be visualizing our timeline, which is a change in location, a change in perception, change in location, same thing, because we've removed the lenses over our eyes and the frequencies and everything where they're keeping us in their thing. So, yeah, totally agree with that. Creating our own way out. So love it.
I think a lot of people, I mean, myself included, I mean, there's so much fear and confusion that's been fused into everything in our society that is one of the number one control tactics. You keep people afraid and confused, and you can do whatever you want. And that is one of the hard things I think for people to do, is when they're stepping out of their shell and they're developing their own choices, just like you say. What happens when you go off the narrative that everyone's used to and you go, no, I'm going to make my own choice? Well, you looked at it like you're being a crazy person. Like, look, what are you doing? Why are you thinking this way? Why are you walking that direction when everyone else is walking that direction? And that's when people really learn to develop that sense of, I think we said this before years ago, stand in your authority and your choices and your decisions.
Oh, yeah.
Stand in it, because once you do, it's going to catch on. People are going to be like, well, wait a second, this person isn't crazy after all. Matter of fact, wow, that seems like you get a sense of peripheral feeling more than just this, you know what I mean? There's a sensation that you haven't felt before and it just feels right. And again, yeah, stepping into the fear, leaning into it continuously, that is so important, because if you're not leaning into the fear that's being placed to some degree or another, you're walking away from it essentially. And the more we're all walking away, the more they're going to trample. The more we lean into it and the more we develop that side of ourselves, that mental toughness and fortitude, it's actually quite easy. I think, you know, people begin to learn, well, this isn't as hard as I thought it was to be facing these things and challenging. Like my just for an example, my latest challenge was becoming a coach for baseball. Like, I didn't want to do it. I was kind of afraid of it, actually. I'm like, I'm too busy. I get too much going on. I can't make the commitment. But I said, you know what? I'm in it now. I said, yes. I said, I'm in it. And now I'm just like, wow, this is really awesome. Like, I'm learning things about myself that I didn't even know existed. And so we all can, you know, do this in our life, you know, practice at these things and develop ourselves. And then
Yeah.
we'll really begin to start making our own choices in life. You know, I think
Step
that's,
into authority. I had somebody was commenting that well, saying no permission is not working, and no permission is stepping into authority. Instead of complying, you're saying, no, wait, I'm in charge. You don't have permission to do A, B, or C to me. But they're hitting us from everywhere. And if I can deal with them hitting on me, hitting me with, you know, in the partnership area, the family area, the money area, the health area, the every area, I got cats going for me. So, but you have to keep at it, and you have to put emotion into it, and you have to really be in charge. Like you said, you have to feel it. You can't just be no permission in fear, or no permission. It's be no permission, you know, like my mother when she's pissed off, hey, and you got to put some energy into it, and you keep at it, things will start to change and chip away. But you got to be dealing, like, and Harry was saying, you got to be taking action, and you were saying you got to be actually taking the action and breaking the contracts with this place, detaching, getting out of the program, all the things we've talked about. So I really love that. Get into the authority and steer the ship, the literal ship that we're on, the mind ship, steer it the direction you want to go back to what you remember as a true spirit, which is joy and beauty and all these things, the utopia, which is normal. This is abnormal. So anyway, blah, 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 blah. Again,
With what you were talking about, energy, when you get back to nature and you start grounding, you know, when you ground, you release the negative energy. If you don't ground, you store that negative energy, and that negative energy ends up causing your blood to thicken, your circulation's worse, all the negative stuff that can happen to you, it's going to spiral and it's going to snowball and get worse and worse. So, um, anything you do involving nature always is going to improve on your health, your mental health, your physical health. So when we're saying to ourselves, "Oh, I don't want to do that," or "That's too hard," it's because you've probably distanced yourself from nature. Once you put yourself back in there, that will start that whole process of changing the way you think and eventually how you act. And I kind of relayed that message in the past, where when we're born into this world, we're kind of dropped into this reality, and our tendency is to kind of follow what everyone else is doing. And the analogy I made in years ago in one of the videos was, when you're dropped into this world, it's like being on a racetrack. Everyone's running in the same direction, and you're plopped here. You're new. You're looking around, and you see everyone running, you know, on the track going counterclockwise, and you're thinking to yourself, what do I do? And you look next to you, and the guy says to you, just follow the people in front of you. And you do, because you don't know any better. So you start running. They did an experiment in a medical office. I don't know if you've heard this, where a new patient walks in and they tell them, okay, have a seat and we'll be right with you. And every time, as the person's sitting down, there's a beep that goes off, and everyone that's already been in the waiting room stands up when the beep happens, and in 5 seconds they sit down. And so you're looking around, and eventually you don't ask anyone anything, but you just follow the leader. And when the beep happens, you stand up too. So
I've seen that.
you
It
don't
was
want to be that
hilarious.
guy. You do not want to be
Yeah.
that guy that doesn't ask, hey, what's going on here? Oh, well, we've just told everyone that when it beeps, to stand up. Why? No reason. You have to ask the question, even if it's uncomfortable. I'm not going to participate in this. And that's why I look at these choices that we have and I'm like, no thanks.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Not
how I
even,
think it ties into the negative energy. We talked about this, Anmarie, in the past. The cycle that's like a record player or a tape or whatever gets rewound. If we're not brave enough to ask, just follow and you're going to be the victim. That's your choice.
Do either of you have suggestions for grounding?
I do. Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Okay, maybe share that because
You go for a walk, go to the park, take your shoes off, step on the grass, 10, 15 minutes. Stand or in the sand, go to the beach. You're not by the beach, right? You're not by the beach.
I'm just saying for the audience, whoever's going to listen to
Oh,
this, some
by the
suggestions.
beach, go swimming in a natural water like a lake, river, ocean, something that subjects you to nature, not a swimming pool with bleach or chlorine. I'm sorry. That's not going to do it. Sand, grounding in dirt, grass, ocean, water. Not long.
Yeah, that's excellent. And then also for what I do is, uh, especially if I'm in a situation where I can't, I live close to the beach, but I can't can't always get there, but that's probably the most optimal thing to do if you have the time. But what I've learned to do is, because I used to do massage therapy, and sometimes I'd get patients in that were just super negative, and I literally would get like really sick afterwards, working on them from the energy. So what I learned was a technique where you sit in a chair or you lie on your back, and it only takes 5 to 10 minutes. You start to breathe to relax, and then you visualize roots growing from your body all the way down into the ground, and just going slowly, slowly, and the roots expanding and just taking root in the ground. And then once they get down in there, you hold that and you breathe, and you're essentially meditating and grounding yourself, your body to the earth, and hold that for 5, 10 minutes. It's extremely powerful. I started doing that before sessions, never got sick after I worked on a person ever again. So that's what I would suggest if you're kind of in a pinch, you get 5 minutes, if you work in an office or something like that, where, you need to do something, to help. Even if you walk into a situation, like say at work or something like that, and, you're feeling funky, like you're feeling really funky. Maybe, these EMFs and stuff are getting to you, you're feeling a little depressed. Do that same visualization technique. It's amazing what it will do to you. It'll connect you to the earth, and the earth energy vibration will come right through you, and you'll 180 that depression. I mean, I've done it many times. It's amazing how it works. Because I used to do, before I discovered that technique, I used to do the bubble thing, like put a bubble around you, white light. It never worked for me. Like I never, I don't, it might work for some people, and this root technique too might not work for you, but this is what I found worked for me.
Oh, very cool. Thanks. Because sometimes I go out in nature and I feel like I'm having trouble connecting. But I just had a thought as we're talking about grounding. I don't even know why I asked. I don't know if you can see my sticks over there. So every time I go out, I get a stick because the trees told me it's part of the tree. But I just had a thought, grounding can also be, because I took the stick and I hit the ground with it and I was like, this is my space. And I claimed it. And then I felt like I tuned in more. So grounding may also be choosing your area. This is my area. I say what's allowed, what's not. And also the elements. I find that if I am having trouble connecting, finding an old tree, not necessarily the young ones, but an old tree, you'll really feel the energy, or you'll get some kind of communication, whatever it is, a feeling, a visualization, words, whatever, but you'll get something from the tree. And the tuning into the elements, wind, like Harry was saying, water, earth, air, fire. Sometimes when you sit in front of like a bonfire, it just kind of mesmerizing. So that feels like it can pull me right back into grounding, which is really just grounding with our spirit, right? Who we really are, with that joy, with that real self, because nature's real. It's real souls out there. So I don't know. That thought just hit me when I was like, well, what do I think about grounding? Because I did want to hear your suggestions, just for times when I feel like I'm not connecting, because this land I'm on is apartments, it's sprayed, it's, there's nothing natural. The critters don't even come up here. There's so many chemicals and stuff. So sometimes it's like, but anyway, I think people just need something to cope right now. So I think you both have given like a lot of excellent ideas. Anything else we should talk about? Should we wrap up? That time flew.
It
Yeah,
did.
I've covered everything that I wanted to talk about, and it looks like it really connected with what you guys were both saying too.
Harry, why do I feel like you're watching me? I don't know. I just keep getting this feeling this whole time.
Watching you.
You got
You're
an
the
eyeball
main person
behind
on the
you.
screen right now.
You got an eyeball behind you.
Oh,
Oh,
the
that's right.
eyeball.
Yeah.
He's watching us.
My daughter drew that, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna
Oh,
hang that up.
wow.
That's a good job.
That's
She's
funny.
good.
I thought that I saw the eye there, and I said, I'm getting the feeling that one of Harry's kids drew that picture.
That's true. That's
Yeah, that's cool.
Harry is the eye in the sky. He's watching all of you. All right, should we wrap it up? What do you want to do? You tell me.
Yeah, I
yeah.
don't have anything for you.
We're
Okay.
good.
That was
All right,
excellent.
I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you, everybody that tuned in. Go to Harry's channel again, Gnostic Artist 68, Living Library Productions. I tried to search for it, Logan. I had a problem again. I don't know why, but
They
it's
took
there.
videos down still. I mean, I have hardly any subs on there. It's like then they're ripping videos down. There's medical
Well, none of that
misinformation.
stuff's
And I'm like,
accurate. The
I'm
views aren't accurate because I tracked it and mine like boom in half overnight. So it was like, okay, I've got 200 views on this. It's probably not 200. So don't even pay attention to that stuff. But Eye of the Heart might come up. I don't know. Maybe the letter Eye of the Heart. Because I think I saw something like that. So
that was the
anyway,
original one. Yeah.
yeah, it may come up under that search. So if you can't find Logan, let me know. And I'm going to click the recording off. Thanks, everybody. Sending tons of love out there.